Hey, how's it going out there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're at here on this fine Saturday. January 4th, 2025 is the date, about 11:50 a.m. California time here. A little one-pointer up into the Alaska area in the green flag, one of the latest quakes. Also, a 4.7 hiding out here somewhere on the map. It should be in a red flag somewhere out here. We'll have to get to that in just a little bit. I want to cover the, that's down in Ethiopia, that 4.7. Should have known. All right, space activity. Goodness, talking about flaring, we are popping with X flares here in the last 24 hours, including a number of M flares as well. We've seen this morning's X flare, the largest so far this year in 2025, with an X 1.8. The previous X flares here just prior to that, a 1.1 and a 1.2. So things are still crackling and popping on the sun from 3947 up here. That's going to be the sunspot right about here. This is a little bit older image here on the Z time here. It shows that it's a little delayed, but this position is wrong, and it's probably a little bit more over around this area right now. So 3947 does harbor some decent potential there for some further X flares. Here's a look at the UV filter of the sun, showing that area starting to rotate a little bit further into the Earth-directed view. Now, anything that does blast off from this area in terms of large flares or large CMEs, coronal mass ejections, as far as shooting off a plasma cloud, will be geo-effective there, pending it's a full type of halo from that eruption, and it will be obviously more in a directed view here in the days ahead. So we'll watch that. Definitely has some potential. Also over here on the southwestern limb, getting some decent looking flaring activity from a number of sunspots here. But the source of the X flares, this one right here, we'll keep an eye on that. I've raised my threat level up here to about 25% chance for an X flare, M flare around 55 to 60. C flare, obviously, you know, that's almost a certainty, right? We're always consistently in the C flare category. If we were to drop below that, that would tell us that there's really no sunspots there on the sun, and things are just kind of neutral. But as you can see, that is not the case. With this many X flares here, it only makes sense here to raise up that X flare threat. So I'm kind of independently adding that onto the live stream based on my own observations and my own knowledge here of space weather activity. So this here is just definitely undercutting it a little bit. As far as the aurora activity, we are seeing the enhancement here, and it's been ongoing since last night with up to a G1 class storm. With these conditions, right after dark, look north if you have clear skies. The auroras are out there right now, and it looks like it's stormy across the entire area. And let's see, KP index I believe is up around the 5 range, just short of the 5 range. Looks like it's above that on some of the stations out here, but either way, after dark, look to the north, clear skies. You should be able to see the auroras overhead there across the northern tier states in Canada, of course, Iceland, Greenland. That's definitely a no-brainer. They're always seeing a lot of earthquake activity, but also a lot of aurora activity. So that should continue into tonight, potentially into tomorrow night as well. So we'll watch for that. Here's a detailed forecast. You know, this is just kind of a maybe scenario, but we're already past that. We're already ahead of what these are showing in terms of the strength. So that's a little old and a little non-relevant right now because it's amplifying. Quick glance here at the next 5 close approach asteroids here as we look at the chart from NASA. I always like to look at this here on occasion, see if we got any super close approaches coming up. Really nothing of any major interest right now. I mean, this one here is 460,000 miles away. That's a lot. That's a considerable distance for a 45-foot asteroid. Aside from that, these are all millions of miles away, and that is a good thing. Earthquake activity here, last 24 hours of earthquake activity on the map. We'll check out the largest magnitude. That's going to be a 5.7 earthquake there. This was originally a 5.8. They dropped it down a little bit to 5.7 in the Ethiopia Rift Valley over there across that region. Still seeing some activity today, but after midnight, looks like 4.9 there in the Ethiopia area as well. Early this morning, about 8 o'clock, the largest earthquake so far after midnight. So let's go ahead and take a look here and see what we have going on out here across the Ethiopia area. I'm sure you guys seen a couple videos of what looks like some high-speed steam coming up out of the ground around one of these volcanoes out here. And no eruption, but no official word of any type of eruption out here. But there's definitely some interesting events taking place, and the earthquake activity has not gone away. We're looking at a decent amount of earthquake activity here. If we look at the last 30 days, 71 earthquakes of decent magnitudes. This is something that you would see leading up to like a big eruption. And these are getting up into the 5 range as well. Always thought, if Yellowstone or something like that were about ready to go, we would see intense earthquakes swarming like this, followed up by, of course, lots and lots of inflation. That's not the case, obviously, at Yellowstone right now, but something's brewing out here on a broader scale event, and I feel like it's not just localized to one volcano out there. Here's one of the volcanoes. Of course, there is a number of them here across this rift boundary. As the crust thins, obviously you get a number of volcanoes as, it makes it easier for that magma to funnel up there to the surface levels in a rift boundary. Number of them down here as well. But this is, like I said, this is more of a broader scale event than just strictly localized. As you can see, it's stretching across this a good section of land, 60, 70 miles or so in that type of fashion. Interesting, nonetheless. They've all been roughly about 6.2 miles deep. So we got some type of big event going on out here. I guess we'll find out in the days ahead, but I'll continue to keep an eye on it. I wish I had some type of way to check out the deformation data out here, because right now, for this site that I normally use there to check out areas of interest in terms of land movement and inflation, this does not cover the Ethiopia area. Well, it does, and to an extent, but this specific area has a lot of older stations out here. So we're looking at, see where we're at. That'd be roughly right about in here. And there's not a whole lot of GPS stations within that area. The hand is little. I don't even know if you guys can see this one. But it's there. No stations, though. And the ones that they do have are from 1998. Goodness. Some over here across the mountain range from 2017. But I don't know if anybody's got any links here that could help me out in terms of monitoring the deflation out here, or inflation, probably inflation. Let me know. Send me a comment or send it to me in an email at earthmastermail@gmail.com. I think that would be beneficial, because obviously with any type of earthquake activity around a rift boundary or volcano, we would want to know inflation, right? What's going on with that? Are we looking at many centimeters a day going up, or more than that? What's going on? Like I say, a lot of this is just old, non-relevant. It doesn't do any good to look at the older data here, and they're all offline. And stuff that's far away like that, well, even that's from 2010. So let me know if you got any source on that, because we are definitely looking at some rift boundary activity out here, and it looks like it's starting to spread out a little bit further south as well. Look at this 4.5 along that kind of the southern end here of the rift boundary. Eventually this whole area will separate from the African continent here and drift further to the east, leaving this a sea eventually, a little area, as the Somalia plate here drifts away from that region. Kind of interesting. We don't want it happening all at once. I don't think it would happen all at once. Hopefully not. But it sure is kicking up right now. All right, let's take a look here at the West Coast. See what's going on here for activity. A couple earthquakes right there on the San Andreas Fault as we zoom in. Looks like about 1:30 in the morning, a little stir up there, 2.2 and a 1.2. Again, that's just right off the San Andreas Fault, the southern segment. A couple earthquakes around Southern Cal. I don't think we got anything above 2.5. Nothing today so far. The last one was a 2.7 down south of the border there in the Baja California region. Long Valley Supervolcano, a couple smaller quakes around that area from yesterday and today. 2.1, one of the latest. Western Nevada still swarming a little bit. Things have quieted down slightly, though, across that area. And Northern California here, two more earthquakes after midnight, a 2.3 and a 2.7. It keeps jumping here over this area as we see this region adjust, getting strained right here, right? It looks like it's starting to obviously that's a super dynamic area with the subduction zone just right up here off the area. This is where the Gorda plate here is subducting underneath this region. It still looks like there's strain being produced as we get earthquake activity here. With that 2.3, 4 o'clock this morning, a few hours later, a bigger quake, but back upstream here. So I still don't think we're out of the woods yet with larger scale potential out here. Got to keep an eye on it. Been watching that pretty closely. Total tally here, at least according to the USGS, following that 7-pointer here a few weeks back, is 480 earthquakes. Well, that does not cover the 7-pointer, so we would have to go back the last 30 days, but beyond the last 30 days, because that cuts off the 7-pointer and the other earthquakes as well. So we're well above 500, but I think we're still way higher than that. Either way, earthquake activity continues. The rest of Northern California pretty quiet. We did have a little tornado out here outside of Red Bluff yesterday, late last night during a thunderstorm. The terrain up here, these thunderstorms are very dependent on the terrain and the topography here of the land. Obviously, higher elevation here going to help with the storms developing. And we do get some tornadoes out here on occasion. Back in 2021, I caught the first tornado of the year right on video. It's on my channel. You'll see it. Just outside of Chico here, off of 99, around the Vina area. Beautiful, photogenic tornado. I was the only one out there that caught it. Pretty cool. Oregon and Washington, not a whole lot going on. Pretty quiet. Of course, it is the weekend. They won't show the smaller earthquakes out here. But that's just how it is. When they're out of the office, the USGS, they don't report the smaller quakes for whatever reason. It's been that way for many years. Yellowstone National Park, let's just double check that. Since it is the weekend, got one earthquake here. Very obvious. You can see it there on Maple Creek, Purple Mountain, Upper Falls. It looks like maybe there was two of them here. This one a little bit localized to this area, and it looks like there was a secondary one localized to the northern edge here of the caldera. The Yellowstone caldera there in the black outline. Supervolcano, obviously. It is sleeping, and that's probably how we want it to be for a while. But yeah, there's that earthquake. Not a lot, maybe 2 or 3 of them. And they're probably, a 1.7, 1.9, maybe a 2-pointer in terms of magnitude. But again, similar to the Pacific Northwest, they will not get reported until Monday morning after their coffee and donuts and whatever else takes place there at the office Monday morning. Pitting is not a holiday. Well, that's why I like to check this, because sometimes there's been earthquake swarms out here at Yellowstone and nothing showing up on the map. And this is the all magnitudes here. During the weekends, they do not report the earthquakes in smaller magnitudes for that area. Pacific Northwest, Southern California, they do. I don't know why it's different. It just is. Texas oil fields out there a little quieter today. A few from today, a few from yesterday, but really nothing big going on. The new Madrid seismic zone, quiet out there for now. As far as any global activity, the Atlantic Ocean up here across Iceland and the northern Atlantic. There's a 4.9, fairly recent. I know we haven't checked Iceland out in a few days, so let's go see what's going on there across the Iceland area. Is this the page I need? This was updated from last year, so that is not ice dam. Earthquakes really haven't increased at all across the area of the Reykjanes Peninsula. Still some earthquake activity out there. I don't see anything major going on. Let me check out the GPS out there, see what we have. Real-time GPS stations across the area of Iceland. I'm looking for the Gvic area, which has been our source of activity. There we go. Here's our most recent eruption there back in 2024. Notice how it was going up. This is the vertical displacement here. As eruption lost some volume of magma, and since it's been halted there, we're going back up. And this has just been the case here of rinse and repeat cycle, building land and all that good stuff. And it's just been ongoing. It looks like we'll probably continue this trend for a little bit until we match another previous level as we had seen in terms of inflation before another eruption happens there across Iceland. Just a rinse and repeat cycle. Speaking of that, Hawaii there, it looks like they took a little break as well in terms of the current inflation, or current eruption, I should say. I believe it's paused. Let's take a look here at the latest webcam. Let's see what we got. It is paused. Last night when we were doing the update there, it was still ongoing, but looks like overnight things have taken a little back seat and just come to a halt. There's still volcanic gases seeping up, obviously, but no visible eruption going on there across that area. So the latest update, let me see what they got here. January 4th this morning, current update. The eruption at the Kilauea volcano that began back on Monday, December 23rd, paused at approximately 8:40 a.m. on Friday, January 3rd. So it looks like we're just paused for right now. The summit tilt meters there reversed from deflationary tilt. A deflationary, that's what you're going to get when we're having an eruption or a magma displacement there. In this case, an eruption, to inflationary tilt, meaning that now that it's come to a halt at the surface level, we're starting to build back up there underneath the region. So we should see things potentially increase in terms of that inflation, and then maybe see another eruption there at the same area, unless that's blocked and sealed off. Then that could migrate somewhere else. But as of right now, that that eruption is paused. Still going to have some hot areas out there across the lava lake area. It takes a little while for that to cool down and solidify. Let's see what else we got here, folks. Alaska pretty quiet. Japan, a couple smaller earthquakes there across the Kuril-Kamchatka. Still waiting on that thing. It's got some big potential there. Typical clustering going on here across the crunch zone. This is where all the plates tend to collide and whatnot. This is a fairly simple image showing that area of interest right here across the Philippines, Indonesia Islands area. Notice all the arrows pointing at one direction here, right? That's where they're currently going. A lot of subduction, a lot of volcanoes, a lot of stuff going on there on any given day. That's why we're always seeing earthquake activity out here daily. This is where the happenings are. A little bit of happenings going on down in the Australia area. 4.5 yesterday, 3.3 today. Don't really see a whole lot of activity out there, but it is stirring up. Got to keep an eye here on New Zealand with a lot of deep adjustment here recently underneath the North Island area, Hikurangi subduction zone. Got to watch that. That's got some big time potential, and it is showing some activity here recently. Aside from that, definitely keep an eye here on the rift boundary. Got some migration going on here across that area, so a lot of uptick going on here on this area of the world. So whatever's going on down below with the convection and the movement is affecting the areas of the plates. Excuse me, I just lost my voice there. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on things. Definitely some activity stirring up out here. Nothing big yet, but as always, it could lead to something much, much bigger. All right, checked out space weather. Thunderstorm activity out here today. Just general localized thunderstorm activity with really no severe weather threat. As you can see here on the board, less than 2%, less than 5%. Right now, there's no big-time threat. Tomorrow, a little bit different story here as we have an enhanced area along with that cold system that's coming down, bringing in some cold air. Got a 10% chance there of tornado activity tomorrow, so kind of a big deal. Jackson, Mississippi area, got portions of Alexandria, Louisiana. If you're in that yellow 5% or 2% zone, just heads up. Got some potential for tornado activity tomorrow. Wind and just a slight chance of some large hail out there as well. And this is all associated with the low pressure system here that we just got through dealing with. It brought us a little bit of rain. That's our last storm here for a little while. That low pressure is going to scoot to the east a little bit, stir up some ice and some snow out there across the area in the blue, ice in the magenta type color. Severe weather south of that cold front. There's all the potential severe weather events out there for Sunday into Sunday night. So just a heads up. There comes that cold air that everyone's been chatting about. A lot of snow potential as well. Texas has some potential for some ice. Nothing. I don't know, man. Ice is like I've dealt with it a little bit up in the mountains and stuff like that, in the colder environment here in California. But I think I'd rather have snow instead of just ice. Ice pretty much seals everything up, and it makes for a big mess on the roads. Snow, at least you can drive around in it if you got four-wheel drive, but ice is a little tricky. Anyway, coming up here midweek, that is a potential here for Texas to deal with some ice and some severe weather there in the south as well. And that's going to be the pattern for a little bit. Man, I was looking at the west coast here. It looks like we may get some rain as we head towards the end of January once again. I'm hopeful. Either way, we're definitely in a very active pattern here of cold and different pressures and whatnot. That's going to make for some exciting weather out there, so to speak. All right, let's see what else is there. I think that's about it. I hope everyone has a good weekend. One little earthquake there in Japan, not a big deal. Nothing else showing up there across the seismos for now. So have yourself a good day, and we'll catch you guys back out here a little bit later on tonight for the Saturday night update. Keep an eye there on that 3947 right here. Looks like it's starting to flare up once again. Have a good one.